Hello, I'm meteorologist Bob Honish, and here's your Montana Weather Hazards Briefing. For updates, please visit the National Weather Service webpage or contact any of the Montana NWS offices. High pressure centered over the Great Basin in southwestern U.S. will remain in place through much of this week, keeping a southwest flow of very warm and continued dry conditions across Montana going into next weekend. Very warm and dry conditions will persist, with hottest and driest conditions likely to occur on Monday. A series of weather disturbances with some increase in moisture will move through the state late Monday through Thursday, bringing a chance for thunderstorms, with Tuesday being the most likely day for widespread thunderstorm coverage. Some storms late Monday and Tuesday may only produce limited precipitation, and storms on Tuesday could be strong to locally severe in the afternoon and evening. This will bring some slight relief to the very warm temperatures and dryness, but an increase in lightning will add to the already elevated fire weather concerns. By next weekend, there is growing confidence in a weather pattern change that would bring cooler temperatures to the region by Sunday and possibly into the first part of next week. But this change could also be preceded by a period of gusty winds on Saturday, while conditions are still warm and dry. Here are some more details about the expected weather hazards this week. Feel free to pause this slide for further review. Here's the latest drought monitor. Parts of the southern tier of the state are in a moderate to locally severe drought, while other areas around the state are being categorized as abnormally dry. Smoke and haze from large fires near the west coast will likely continue to stream northeast across portions of Montana through at least the first half of this week. Impacts to visibility and air quality are most likely across the southern tier of the state and will fluctuate in extent and intensity at times. Some improvement is possible later in the week as wind flow aloft turns more westerly. Temperatures in the current stretch of very warm conditions are likely to peak on Monday, with afternoon readings in the 90s at most lower elevation locations and near 100 across eastern Montana locations. Temperatures cool slightly for the middle portions of this week, but remain above seasonal averages. Looking at the experimental heat risk product, much of the state east of the divide will be in the moderate to high risk category on Monday. Moderate risk reflects heightened risk to vulnerable populations sensitive to heat, especially the elderly, those with certain health conditions, and those without access to adequate cooling or hydration. High risk represents a heightened risk of heat-related illness for most of the population, with even healthy individuals at risk if they don't take proper precautions. In addition to the peak in temperatures, Monday is also likely to be the driest day of the week. Some improvement to the very low afternoon humidity is expected Tuesday through Thursday, but most areas will still see humidity fall below 25% each afternoon. Isolated thunderstorms are expected to develop over the mountains of southwest Montana and central Idaho late Monday, as the first in a series of weather disturbances, along with some elevated moisture, moves into the region from the southwest. These storms may track as far northeast as central Montana by Monday evening. While isolated, these storms may have limited precipitation and bring a risk for new fire ignitions, as well as locally gusty outflow winds. As additional moisture and a stronger weather disturbance moves across the state on Tuesday, thunderstorm activity will increase further, with a risk for some strong to isolated severe storms across much of the state. Strong wind gusts and hail will be possible with some storms on Tuesday. Locally heavy downpours are possible with some storms as moisture increases across the region, but the increase in lightning and isolated nature of any heavier rain and storms will maintain a risk for new fire starts. Gusty outflow winds from storms could also pose a threat to new and existing fires. As is usually the case with thunderstorm activity, precipitation amounts will likely vary quite a bit, with heavier amounts being very localized. Thunderstorm and precipitation coverage will likely be greatest, however, from southwest Montana through parts of central and southeast Montana. The Week 2 forecast indicates a good degree of confidence in the development of cooler and possibly wetter weather pattern to start next week, though at this point the change to cooler temperatures with better precipitation chances looks to only be temporary. Longer range weather models are showing a low pressure trough moving southeast into the northern Rockies and Montana this weekend, which will likely bring the cooler conditions and potentially more widespread precipitation by Sunday. Ahead of this change, however, the potential for gusty winds may exist on Saturday while conditions are still warm and dry. This could lead to a period of critical fire weather conditions before the cooler conditions bring improvement late this weekend into early next week. Here's a recap of the key points regarding weather hazards this week. If you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to reach out to your local NWS office. Thank you for watching and have a great week.